Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do hopefully another entry now in the A to Z series of I think this is it. I thought I had one more of the Seed compact disc, my compact disc collection. All right, let's get going. B, letter B, part two. There's going to be at least one more part to the B's. So, all right, so I have, let's see here, Biffy Clyro here. I have 3 CDs from them. I never got the last one, which was pretty good, but I meant to. But I may have it on. I can't remember. Anyway, I have is Vertigo of Bliss, which I think was it came out in 2003. I think was their it was their third album, second album or third album. I can't remember. But I wasn't into them at that point. But it came out in 2003. Some people think this is their most progressive in some ways. The early Biffy Clyro is more kind of a combination of post-hardcore and kind of alternative rock, but with progressive leanings. But they were 3 piece, so they kind of had the Muse and Rush thing um, going on to some extent. But I haven't listened to this album in a long time. The first couple albums, first 2 or 3 albums, this is the one some people like. I know like Lorenzo from Alt Hardcore. This is the one he likes, I think, the most. The vinyl to buy this is not cheap though. So Vertigo of Bliss. Make sure I do this right. So then I have that was 2003. 2007's Puzzle. This is the one that got me into them and my favorite. It's 14 songs. It's long, but kind of reminded me of like Fair to Midland to some degree. But there's some big, layering and guitar textures and riffs. What's the one? Living is a problem because everything dies. The second track is kind of I mean, I know that there was a loss of like Simon Neil. Someone died, like his parents, his dad, or something like that. But it came out like middle of the year, late in the year in 2007. And I was like, oh wow, this is really good. Um, there's one song that talks about a fire. I know that. Yeah, who's got a match? And um, yeah, I mean it's good. It's again it's my favorite. Although I guess for being 14 tracks, it flows well, but it's not like a perfect record and like that. But it's still my go-to for Biffy Clyro. There isn't a member of the band, of course, named Biffy. I always thought that for the longest, like the first year I was a fan. I saw them live with I forget who was that opened for them. Band that I like. I don't even know if they're still around, but I remember also wanting to meet the guys, and they didn't hang out. It was at the Fine Line. Um, and then okay, so I have Only Revolutions, which I think that was the one that came out 2009. That was the one that followed. It followed Puzzle. Um, and this one's good. I think this one is more focused. It's 12 tracks. I think they did like another Only Revolutions again or something like that, which was like B-sides and remixes and stuff. But The Captain, That Golden Rule, Bubbles, Mountains. There's a lot of really good songs, like melodic songs on this. I don't know if it's quite as progressive, but it's still pretty progressive as Puzzle. So I don't have any of the other ones, unfortunately, that I thought I had bought Opposites, the one that follows. I liked that one too. That was the last Biffy album I'd liked until the one a couple years ago, but they had a couple records in the middle there I wasn't as keen on. So all right, so moving on. CD from this band that I think that they opened for the Apples in Stereo. I think Kaja, my kitty, wants to say hello. He's asking for attention, been sleeping for a few hours. This band here, they're called Big Fresh and Big Fresh Forever. Really, it's almost like a Phenomena, like Ramona Falls thing, like open here. It's like I forget what happened. This is like origami or something, like a map, or just having the lyrics. But they're power pop. I mean, I can see why they opened for the Apples and Stereo. I think they're from like North Carolina, but this is their only album, and it's just Big Fresh Forever from Big Fresh, but 2008, 2000, yeah, around that time. So very independent, but good album. But I haven't listened in a long time, unfortunately. So here's an album from a band called The Big Sleep, and I don't remember if I just bought this on a whim or I heard about it in a magazine or on Rate Your Music or something. It was something like 2008, probably. French Kiss Records. Again, I don't know the years on some of these, but Big Sleep. I always like because I know the Big Sleep is like the name of like a film or something like that from like the 1950s or 60s. Whenever I see that name, I always think of maybe the 70s. This band. I don't know that I think they released more albums because I remember I saw it on a blog a few years ago. Another album from them. I'm pretty sure it was the same band, but I don't know musically. I would describe it as maybe like folk rock, kind of dreamy folk rock, a little post rock ish, But it's been a long. This was around that same time, 2008, 2009, maybe 2010. So, all right. So I've got the first two albums from Canadian's own Big Wreck, of course, who opened for Dream Theater in 1997 off the Falling Into Infinity tour. What do you want? You want my attention. You may stop making the video. So their debut album, In Loving Memory. Um, It's really good. I mean, it's very melodic, but it has a grunge element. I mean, just like I Mother Earth, and I don't like them as much as I Mother Earth or the Tea Party, but it's in a similar fashion. But they have the vocalist is pretty distinct. But most people consider this their best record, their debut album from '97. Although they put out several reunion records, they stopped. They went on hiatus for a long time, but yeah, Between You and I, that song, the Oath, yeah, Ian Thornley, if people love him, the singer. How would you know? Yeah, I mean, I revisited this a few times about 10 years ago or 15 years ago. 15 or 15. I initially bought it because I am not gonna buy this 2008. So I revisited about 10 years. I mean, I forget when it was, but and I got more into it after like I saw them open Dream Theater. I don't even know if I had it like downloaded or anything like that. But anyway, I always like I saw people raving about them. It's like that's the band that opened for Dream Theater. There would be like something like Soundgarden meets Zeppelin. But anyway, Big Wreck, the In Loving Memory of dot dot dot, and then the follow up that was in 1997, 19 or 2001's. I got a promo here. The Pleasure and the Greed. This is 2005. That's weird. It's like this was 2008. I would have figured I would have bought the debut first, but I bought this one first. But 95 cents at cheapo in 2005. But yeah, and I know this album, while it was good, it wasn't as good. But again, there's 16 songs on here. Um, Mixed by Ian Thornley. Yeah, I can't talk. I mean, I haven't listened to these in a while. I mean, I've listened to some of their newer records, but I've always kind of held their first two records as been the best work, even having some good reunion albums with Big Wreck. But anyway, Pleasure and the Greed from 2001 rather, from Big Wreck. All right, so then I've got. All right, continuing on. Been like a week. Bees. Birds and Buildings, um, which is it's a prog album. Came out in 2007, and I actually had been reading a little bit about it. I don't know where I got this. I think I probably was given this maybe at one of the festivals or a show or something like that. But I can't really talk that much more because I don't know if I listened to it maybe once. But Megan Wheatley on track 5. But yeah, I mean, it looks like you're kind of. It looks like a 2000s prog, like an art rock, psych rock, but it's prog, I guess. I think a couple of the songs are kind of epic. Yeah, there's a lot of epics on this. So MCOG Records from 2008. They recorded in 2007, but I'm not sure where they're from. But here's the track list. I can show that anyway. But yeah, Birds and Buildings, Bantam to Behemoth. I didn't say the name of it, but anyway, someday maybe I'll get around to listening to it again. So I've got two albums from this band, and I want to say I saw them open for Jeremy Messersmith or it's Birds of Avalon. I forget, but I don't know if they're local. I don't think they wouldn't be. I wouldn't. No, they're not local, but um, no, that wouldn't make sense if they opened for Jeremy Messersmith though. Maybe it's like the Decemberists. I can't remember, or like Wolf Parade. I forget who I thought I'm almost certain I saw them. This one, so like this is 2008's album, the Wee EP, OUE. I think it's OUE. Um, January 2008. They're from North Carolina. Actually, maybe I saw them with the Apples in stereo. They may have been also from North Carolina, like Big Fresh. I forget. Birds of Avalon. It's probably in my concert history. I'll figure it out later. I'll maybe have to edit it in, or maybe I don't know. But this is an EP, and I call them indie rock. I mean, whatever, indie rock with some psych elements from my memory. I must have liked them enough to buy. So again, I'm pretty sure I saw these guys open for someone else. So it was a concert. You're at a concert and you like the band's performance, so I'll buy a seat, buy one of their albums. Um, and this album, again, this looks like Vertilac and Baroness style artwork. I don't think it's by the same artist. I could be wrong, but Lost Pages from the Robot Repair. It's kind of bizarre. It says bizarre. Oh, bizarre. I don't know what that's. That's like a subtitle. So anyway, it's called Bizarre, and again, just the challenge with a lot of times with CDs, I can't. I mean, if that other album came out in 2008, then this is probably not that probably around the same time. Here's the booklet with like cards and stuff. I mean, cool artwork, but again, not at this point. It hasn't been memorable enough for me to return to it. But okay, this says 2007, so they put out this. Maybe they put a previous EP and then put out this album in 2007, and then they put out this other EP after that. So anyway, Birds of Avalon, or the Birds band. So then I've got this one, and this one I clearly got at Cheapo. I was just taking a chance on. I don't even know if I listened to it. The Neil Young meets Big Star meets Pink Floyd. That was the description. This band is called Bird Watchers of America. And 2009, April 10th, 2009 is when I got this at Cheapo. So, which by the way, there's a new Cheapo store that just opened up in Little Canada. Unfortunately, there's a bakery that closed, a longtime bakery for decades in St. Paul. But we just found out that happened, and then found out there's a new. I'm gonna have to go there soon. Near my old one of my not my last one, pretty close to my last one, but 2 apartments ago, in Little Canada. So I'm gonna have to go check that place out. But which adds that would be enough 4 cheapo locations in Minnesota that I'm thinking of. But again, another band. I mean, the description is again Neil Young, Big Star, and Pink Floyd. So sort of like a folky, power poppy psych band. But I think this is a case of I've got many CDs like this, and I paid 95 cents for it. Where I listen to the samples, it's cheap. I had that thing where I was buying a bunch of these. I bought many of these in the mid to late 2000s, especially flipping through the new arrivals and stuff like the recent arrivals. This is a promo by this label, Planetary, the distributor, and it just was okay. I listened to it once, maybe twice, but it might be worth revisiting. Bird Watchers of America. There have been sightings is the name of it. So yeah, I showed it again. All right, so I only have one CD by this band. I've showed it in my video. I think it was like 1991, 92. Of course, this is the Black Crowes, Shake Your Money Maker, which I think is the debut album from them, which has not all of their hits as I came to learn, but a lot of the early ones. Their cover of Hard to Handle, of course, Jealous Again, and Twice as Hard. Twangy kind of blues rock. I mean, it has their Zeppelin and Stones and kind of influence. She Talks to Angels is one of the other bigger songs on this, but yeah, I mean, they were everywhere for a little while. But yeah, Black Crowes, good album. I mean, the one after it's good as I came to learn. Amorica, I never got into, although I haven't listened to that probably since '94 when that one came out. But I don't have that's the only the Black Crowes CD I own. So my next one is kind of sad that I only have these 2 discs, and kind of yeah, I call it sacrilege or whatever, because I do like this band. So here's my Black Sabbath, or in effect Black Sabbath collection. So the first one is the first one I got. I remember I got this when I was in high school. I think I got both of them in high school, but it's known as Children of the Grave, although I think this is the same track list. It's just a renamed, maybe for like a reissue kind of thing. as Volume 4. But I love a lot of the track. Tomorrow's Dream, Changes, Cornucopia, Laguna Sunrise, Children of the Grave Live, Wheels of Confusion. Um, but yeah, I think it was just like a renamed in some of the territories and maybe in the U.S. or the distributor renamed it. Because I don't think this is even though this seems kind of like a bootleg, I don't think this is a bootleg made in Germany. Okay, that would be the explanation. But I'm pretty sure I bought this. I either bought this through, I got this through BMG, the music club, or I bought this like at Best Buy. So I don't know why Best Buy would have a German, pressing, manufactured compact disc. But anyway, Children of the Grave from 19 I want to the 70s. So they came out in 76, but volume 4 I'm pretty sure was like 70, it was like 73 or 74. So it was a couple years after it come out. So but I grew up when I was in high school. I was checking out Black Sabbath. I always thought this was the actual album, but I was wrong. And the other one is this is a 3 disc compilation, not a box exactly, but a compilation, which they're not, I don't know how common they are. I mean, I have a Yes one like this too. This is a Japanese, again, distributed version, but it's the Black Sabbath, the Ozzy Osbourne years. And yeah, I remember listening to this a fair amount, like when I was in college, the first year, 1 year I spent in college. But I mean, it has, it's whatever it is, 13, 28, 13 is 41 tracks, the covering the Ozzy Osbourne period from whenever that was, 1970 to 1978, so whenever he left Black Sabbath. So I mean, it has mostly all that you'd want. I mean, granted, having listened to some of the Sabbath stuff, I was going through the albums of the year, maybe there's a few tracks on here that weren't included, but it has like Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, of course, which is essential, and After Forever, Sweet Leaf, I mean, Spiral Architect, a lot of songs that, other bands referenced. I think it has Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Maybe it doesn't. I'm pretty sure because yeah, that's the first track on the third disc. The only thing I'll say about this is when I was listening to Black Sabbath, having the Zeppelin background, and I was getting into Rush at that point too, their lyrics always seemed about death and, despair and very ominous. And I think that's maybe why I didn't get so invested and so attached to their music as a whole. Now, grant that wasn't all their lyrics, and even the whole rumor of satanic, I like devil worshiping and stuff like that. But in retrospect, like now, if I was just checking out Black Sabbath in the last 20 years, I would have probably been more thorough in my appreciation for this. It didn't get, and another way to put it is, it didn't get the the replay value that Rush's Chronicles did, but it still was one that I listened to occasionally. But obviously bought this. I don't remember how much it was. It was probably like $30. It was like 3 discs, was not cheap back then. So, and when this thing came out, it came out. I want to say it was probably like 90, 91, 92, 93, maybe 94. But of course, that information isn't 91. It was 90. Okay. You had the Zeppelin box set then. You had so many box sets that were being released in the early, because that was the sort of peak of the early days of CD. So, all right. So then here is my next one that I've got. Really the stuff that I really appreciate for them the most. So this is my Blackfield compact disc collection. So it's gotten its share of wear and tear, but I have the first album, of course, came out in 2004, though for a while I thought it was 2005, but I didn't really hear it until 2005. But Steven and what's his name, Aviv Geffen. But yeah, great record, very melancholy record. It's among the Steven Wilson canon catalog. It's definitely my top 5. From the title track to Pain to Scars to Cloudy Now, Hello. It's very depressing but melancholy. So it's sort of like I associate partially with Ariel Daniel, the girl that died from the Milwaukee area, that was a huge Porcupine Tree and Blackfield fan. And yeah, the lyrics sort of, when I was looking, 'cause I knew she was a Blackfield. She founded the MySpace Porcupine Tree biggest MySpace group, and I told Stephen Wilson about this on his site at the time. And the lyrics just like, oh my god, it was hard. I never knew her. I want to say she might have been at the Porcupine Tree show I went to in Milwaukee in 2002, but other than that, I never knew her other than talking to her a little bit on MySpace, but then the information about her death and everything, and that other girl, that friend of hers, the fact she was such a friend. She was also a big fan of photography, and she's only 17, but the lyrics for this really resonate. And it's just like, but it's therapeutic. I mean, right now after what just happened, I should put it on maybe. So of course I've got the second Blackfield album, which came out in 2007. Came out the same day as Caddisfly Set Sail to Prairie and House of Fools Live and Learn, March 6, 2007, I believe. Which I like a lot. I don't like as much as the first one in some ways, although I guess it's a little more varied. But songs like Christening's, the piano-driven part, My Gift of Silence, Where Is My Love, End of the World. I mean, again, sort of kind of darker, like sad lyrics. A Thousand People Once. How many bands I know have a song called Once? There's like five of them. But anyway, Blackfield 2. And then I've got from these are both like promos and stuff like that. I've got Blackfield, the promotional single, the title track. Of course, I think this jewel case, yeah, it's gonna come out. They're trying to promote Blackfield, and the songs from Blackfield are very accessible. I think there's a Beatles influence. They're kind of poppy, so could Blackfield? That's right around the time, right after In Absentia had come out, before Deadwing. Blackfield was, it was start. They did a tour, and I know Jordan Rudess like joined them or something like that. One show. They did a little bit of tour of the U.S. They didn't come here. I remember getting like a bootleg of it though. This is probably before, around the time YouTube launched, but there weren't videos on YouTube of that stuff at that time. But yeah, in stores February 22nd, 2005. See, I think that's what happened. It came out in Europe in 2004 and some other territories, and then 2005 the self-titled album came out February 22nd. So, and then I have this, which might be the same thing. So I may have had two of these. I could be wrong, or this is like an EP. I'm not sure what this is. Like a sampler. Perfect World, Where Is My Love, Cloudy Now Live. It's an enhanced CD, which I don't know if it even works, but it's hard to really see that. Really struggling. Maybe this will come out on video better. But anyway, that's the track list. So that's I mean, I really like the first two Blackfield albums. The third, fourth, fifth. What's it called? Something. Welcome to Me on DNA. There were a few tracks that were okay, but they weren't as good, unfortunately. Anyway, I mean, I'll say they put out new records. I usually will at least listen to them. So, all right, this one right here. I think this is the only, yes. A lot of one-offs here in this whole section of the bees. This is Black Milk. The CD is called Cultrot. Cultrot? Cultroit. Black Milk presents Cultroit. This is rap or hip hop, I guess. But he's kind of experimental, and I heard some of the stuff, I want to say, on Radio K. It was an end of year listing. It might have been someone's end of year list. I want to say it was 2000. It might have been 2008. Either 2007, 2000. I think it was 2008. And I kind of got won over by it a little bit. I had the massive list. 2008 may have been my biggest year. I had like 100 albums that year. And it was sort of toward the bottom, but I mean, I still liked it enough. And if I'm going to listen to some hip hop or rap, this would be one of the ones to consider, for sure. I mean, Keldroit is one of the tracks on here. Interesting. Go Hard. There's some humor, some pop culture references like I like. I mean, my favorite, I could say, is Mortal Technique. There's one hip hop artist of the last, couple decades. But Black Milk was kind of in that similar. Them, Guante was another one. So anyway, Black Milk presents Keldroit. It might be the first album. I'm not sure, first or second from Black Milk. I have no idea what he's done the last 16 years, but because I think it's one guy. But anyway, next one is Black Mountain. I only have one Black Mountain disc, and it's a very good disc. Yes, so Canadian band. They had two other albums. It was the only one they bought. I bought it on vinyl a few years ago. I saw them live, got them to sign it and everything. It's like heavy psych. Some of the tracks, a couple of the tracks on here had those really cool, sort of trippy psychedelic riffs with the kind of male female vocals, a little bit like Pure Reason Revolution at the time. Songs like Tyrants, speaking of what's happened in the last few days, and what's the other one? Bright Lights. Bright Lights, I believe, is like over 10 minutes, might be 12 minutes. And the hipsters were into them, but I didn't care. It's like this is pretty cool stuff. They played Tyrants on Radio K, I remember. Is this a double disc? It might be. It might be a double disc. I didn't even realize that. There's this, and then there's it's called In the Future. I didn't even say that. This is the third black. And they're from Canada, I believe. I think this is just like some bonus tracks or something, or I don't know. But again, I'm wondering if this can be seen too well because my camera. But yeah, future sounds credits. I don't know. They put out a few records after this, and they had the two ones before, and this is the In the Future is the one that always worked best for me because it had those two or three just like fantastic, kind of segueing heavy riffs. Bright Light, they say light bright, and I always think of the children's toy Light Bright with that. But Queens will play Stormy High. I mean, they're not as good of singers as Pure Evolution, but the writing was still there enough. And yeah, they put out a couple records since, but I wanted to like them. The one they put out, I want to say it was like 2019, 2020, 21, somewhere in that range. I was optimistic, and it just was sort of okay. They didn't have the sort of the climaxes and those big, moments that I loved with In the Future. So anyway, this is from 2008, In the Future from Black Black Mountain. All right, so I got this. Getting through this, hopefully. This will be like a 35, 40-minute video, probably. This is Black Ribbons with the album Neuromancer. Black Ribbons, speaking of Canadian artists, is a separate project. Or I want to say it was before he actually started the project, Never Ending White Lights. This is one of Daniel Victor's other projects, and it's not as sort of atmospheric, kind of post-progressive, trippy music. It's more accessible. Actually, this was released in 2012, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm remembering this correctly. This is all music he did. He did it, outside of, if not before, Never Ending White Lights. But and I didn't like it as much as Never Ending White Lights, but it's still looking at the list. Song written for, yeah, Daniel Victor. Yeah, see, it's a very brief 2 month period in the late 2000s. So actually, all right, it wasn't actually before Never Evan Conrad's mentioned in here. He would have been pretty young back then, late 2000s, 2012. Well, no, because actually he worked with um, Daniel Victor, Evan Conrad from, yeah, Bed of Stars in it. But that tells me that he did this in like 2000. He did this after Act Two, so I want to say it was before. Maybe he had written it. I don't know, but it's outside of. But it's something, if you like Never Ending White Lights, if you've never heard, try to seek it out. I don't know if it's on Spotify or YouTube. It might be, but Neuromancer from Black Ribbons, Daniel Victor's other project. So I've only got one from this band, someone who I like. I'd like to get more into. I've heard some individual tracks, especially on Spotify. But this is Blues Redhead. I believe, yeah. And I think this is Blues BLEU, most sort of commercially distributed album. Came out in 2002. I think Blue was gonna maybe blow up and become like even as big as like Fountains of Wayne or something like that, but it didn't really happen. He was kind of doing a similar process that Self did, that Matt Mahaffey, but um, I I've liked some of his music. He actually collaborated with Matt Mahaffey on the Leo project, which was like an ELO sort of homage. But it's like it's yeah, I mean it hasn't fully worked. Same with like Ginger Wildheart, and there's a few others that's like on paper I should like them more. That it hasn't fully clicked. Owlsley, I can say that to some degree I've has clicked with me, and I think Blue could. It's like some of his music sounds grungy, some of it's power pop, kind of power grungy power pop of sorts, but he sometimes captures like one of those just fantastic, arrangements with the vocal harmonies, and just like the instrumentation just works. But this album, Redhead, including somebody else, as featured on the Spider-Man songs. See, that's the thing. He was on Spider, just like ours or Jimmy Necco on the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack. He got on that soundtrack. Why he didn't blow up because of it, I don't know. He actually should have toured with Ours. Think about that. Right around that same time was when Ours was starting to sort of try to play the major label game. But anyway, this is Blues Redhead album. All right, so I've got, be careful with the two discs from this project group. This is Blind Faith, of course. Um, self-titled album. I have the deluxe edition, which that's the key part about this. and I think I showed this in the video. It's upside down. I can't remember. But I don't know where the actual like deluxe edition case is, but the bonus disc is what's important here because it has the different jams, which is like progressive blues rock. Um, of course, Blind Faith is the project with Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker, and then what's his name? Steve Winwood from Traffic and Rick Gretsch. But yeah, I mean, the album itself is decent. I mean, it's not. I like Cream more. And I don't know if push comes to shove, the album itself I would say is better or worse than Derek and the Dominoes. It's kind of on the fence, but you get the jams on this sucker. If I ever could find a vinyl copy, a double vinyl probably at least, maybe triple, with those blues jams, that's where your money is. There's one of the pieces, one of the jams that basically has the interval pattern that was used originally on Heart of the Sunrise, and then Necromancer. Was it Necromancer? Yeah, Necromancer from Rush. So anyway, so I also have this Blind Faith bootleg. So I'm going to be showing some bootlegs, of course, in here. Debut in Stockholm. Was their live debut, I think. Clapton and Winwood. So under my thumb. Can't Find My Way Home was their sort of semi-hit. June 18th, 1969. I think I probably bought this at like a record show because I don't have a sticker on that. Yeah, because this is definitely very much of a bootleg. I heard those jams. I was like, oh man, I want to hear more of this. It's like, but that's the only album they had. So much as I have reservations about Clapton, of course. So, all right. So here's a bunch from one band. This is my Block Party collection. So I have this is the debut EP, which has Banquet and it's like 2004, I think. Yeah, Staying Fat. Let's see. It's got the Marshalls Are Dead. It has a couple tracks that were non-album tracks from Silent Alarm, but yeah, I mean, the early like Blackfield or like some other bands, the early Block Party I really like. There's stuff that came after after my collection I'm not as into. So then I've got, what is this? This is another EP because they're like battles where they release a whole bunch of things. This is made in England. Yeah, made in you can't really see that, but it was made in England. But this is the so here we are positive tension EP and scuffed. It was 95 cents. It's kind of like at one point I was really into Block Party. I was trying to pick up as much as I could from them, and I don't want to break this. Sometimes these jewel cases are just not destined to work very well, as you can see. But yeah, so it's got 3 tracks on it. Anyway, all right. So then I've got, of course, the standard, and the books have not been perfect, but copy of Silent Alarm that took a beating. I paid $8 back in December of 2007 for it. I don't know why, because I got into them like a year before that, but Helicopter, Banquet, yeah, I mean, this first album was massive for them. I mean, and everyone always cites their first album, and it's a good album. It's a very good album. But I tend to actually like some others more, specifically the one after it. So, but yeah, here's my copy of this. Is like I kept the parental advisory. Yeah, some of the lyrics get a little bit dark on some of those, but so the second album, which came out, that was 2005. So the second album came out in 2007, and the cheapo sticker got rubbed off. But A Weekend in the City, which is my favorite Block Party album. The energy is just super. I listened to this like, I want to say 6 months ago. I saw a little documentary piece on them on one of the YouTube channels I follow. I forget the name of it, but this has their best track, their proggiest track, Uniform. It's awesome, but it also has songs like Hunting for Witches, Waiting for the 718, Song for Clay, Disappear Here, Kreuzberg. I mean, yeah, the lyrics are dark, but the music, the energy, the post punk, I kind of felt like I was getting into sort of the post punk revival, you want to call it. And they're from the UK, of course, and then they, of course, then using some math rock, and so they influence bands like Foles and Everything, especially. So, and then I bought the one that followed that, Intimacy. That this was, I think, 2008. Yeah, it was just the year after, which I liked, but not nearly as much as Weekend in the City. I didn't like as much as Silent Alarm, so that's kind of one reason why I kind of ended my Block Party uh, collection buying at that point. I remember I saw some of their records after that, but I wasn't. I think their album that followed might have been called like Four. I really like the early Block Party most, but this has a song called Flux. Interesting. I don't think 22 took inspiration from that, but Mercury. That's the one track I always think of this album mostly for, the Mercury and Retrograde. So, but yeah, Intimacy from 2008. It finished like probably in the 40s for me that year, which wasn't bad, considering the Black Milk album was way down further. But anyway, so let's see here. I got about 7 or 8 left here. The next one is called Blue Gillespie, and I could be wrong, but I think I might have got this from John Collinge from Progression. He wanted me to review it, and I don't know if he ever published the reviews I tried to write through the email, but so this is, I think one of those CDs was very Tool like. I'd have to look in my old emails to find out. Seven Rages of Man, but the band's called Blue Gillespie. I have no idea. I mean, I have to look at their origins. They're from 2012 album. They're from the UK, Gillespians and all this stuff. I know one or two of those albums he had me wanting me to review were very Tool like, but that's kind of why it was like the one and never did more reviews for them, because I wanted to review the stuff that I wanted to review, not the stuff he would send me. It's like, well, you get to keep the CDs. Big deal. So, but yeah, some people might like it. It's obscure, but people from the UK might know them a little better. They're called Blue Gillespie. V something Rom there, the bottom, but it might be it's some kind of concept album too, because it has like prologue and different acts and everything. So anyway, let's see here. So, all right, another one of those. This is a band I thought I was gonna like more. I think I might have bought this when I was in at the Dread shows in Santa Cruz. We stopped at the Amoeba Records in Santa Cruz. This is the band. They're called Bachman. And this album came out. Yeah, it was an Amoeba clearance. See, $1.99. Let's see. But it's like Liyl. I don't know. Listen if you like. Polyphonic Spree, XTC, TVIs. I don't know who that band is. And Jellyfish. Um, I've always wanted to revisit this. I remember when I bought it, I kind of liked it, but it just was sort of, it sounded like its influences, but not the quality of the songwriting maybe wasn't as good. But I knew I've still kind of slept on it. This is one that I would be interested in going back to. They're probably not a band anymore, Bachman. The album's called Chasing Dragons, and officially it was released in 2007. See, radio ad date 4307, but I bought it in 2000. It probably that's weird because maybe I didn't, but maybe I bought this. No, I sit corrected, because I that was in 2006 that I ended up going out to Amoeba Records in Santa Cruz. So I don't know. It was sometime in that time in Bachman, but Chasing Dragons from Bachman, $2 I paid for it, and I didn't spend an arm and a leg. So remember I bought it at the Amoeba in Berkeley one day when I was visiting my aunt and uncle. It might have been then when I bought it, not when I went to the Dread shows. So all right, so I've got two Bon Jovi CDs. I think I might have shown these in the Albums of the Year series, but I've got their classic one, Slippery When Wet from 2000, or from 2000, it was like 86, yeah, which has Living on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name. I think I might have got this through, I wouldn't be surprised if I got this through the BMG Music. Either that or I bought this when I was sort of trying to get more into Bon Jovi, when I realized all the female tennis players that I was watching on the WTA tour like Bon Jovi. So it's like I may as well start hearing more Bon Jovi, but beyond the hits. And that's why I ended up buying this thing, which is like an EP or compilation. Yeah, it's a compilation called Crossroad. So which came out in 1990 maybe, or because there's stuff from 1990 on here. It's got Runaway, it's got Bad Medicine, I think, and You Wanted Dead or Alive, which is an actual, I think that's an actual John Bon Jovi solo track. But anyway, Bon Jovi slash John Bon Jovi, what can you do? Guilty pleasure. I don't like guilty pleasures, but product of my age and my youth, among other things. So all right, so I only have one album from this. This is the one album I liked, actually. The album not the album that followed, but the one after that. But they're actually going to be here, and they're still a working band, the sort of metalcore band called Born of Osiris. And all these bands that I was trying to find that were like between the Buried and Me, and the thing about this album, the album's called The New Rain. It's like 21 minutes or something. It's like less is more, but you get your flavor of metalcore, sort of some progressive tendencies. But yeah, there's a lot of it's the screaming vocals and some of the breakdowns, but it's not like most like deathcore. As you can see, I had the guys sign it. I was talking to them after that show. I remember when I saw it. I forget they were on the bill with someone else too, the Faceless or something. Like what they listened to, they're like, oh, Misery Signals. So Misery Signals was on the bill with them. And metalcore, a lot of that stuff is Michael Keene's the guy's name. The record they put out was like not this one, not the one after, the one after it was their most progressive at the time. I liked more, but I just never got around to buying it. I just Born Over Cyrus is sort of you can say I was sort of a phase. I would still listen to this now, I guess, if I'm interested in listening to some extreme metal. But anyway, The New Rain from 2007. I was buying CDs like crazy then. I bought it at the show. It has no sticker, so I must have bought it at the show. Had him sign it there. So, all right. So I showed all of these CDs in of course, the albums of the year series. But these are my 4 Boston CDs. So of course, I have the debut album with the guitar, which is a guitar that looks like a spaceship. Um, I mean, Peace of Mind is probably my go-to, but Hitch a Ride. The whole album is very good, sort of classic rock, well written, accessible songs, and they kind of define AOR. But I mean, the vocals and the production is just it's a trademark of this album. So, and most people like Boston praise this album a ton. So, of course, it has More Than a Feeling, their biggest song. So then, of course, I got Don't Look Back, which has the title track, and A Man in Another Bee. The Journey, people didn't like this as much. This was in 78. That the self-title was 76, of course. But I still like this one. Not as much as the self-title, but I still like it. I think people that don't like it are, I don't know. So then it was 8 years. It was big, again, I wasn't around at that time, but I know the people that loved them had to wait a long time for the album that followed it, Third Stage. I have that, which has Amanda, which was their radio hit, but Cool the Engines, Holly Ann. Of course, between that, you had Barry Goodrow, which I think I have his CD too. Had a solo record, which Brad Delp sang on, but We're Ready. Again, they always are in spaceships and everything. So, and then I have the fourth album, Walk On from '94, and I saw them on this tour at the Target Center in 1995, in May of '95, and I really like this. I want to say they had a different singer, although Brad Delp, of course, did tour with them when I saw them, but I forget the guy's name. Fran Cosmo, which Brad Delp, R.I.P. I wonder if Fran, there's a version of Boston still now. I wonder if Fran's the singer with them. I don't know, but that's my Boston collection of CDs. And okay, so just 3 more left to wrap this up, and then I can edit this together and put it up maybe tomorrow. I have Bozio, Levin, Stevens, Terry Bozio, Tony Levin, and Steve Stevens. Of course, and that's also wonderful. This is one of the ones that's got a lack of a CD. So, but I think I got this when I was at KFAI, maybe radio, when we got Magna Carta promos. But anyway, it's called Situation Dangerous, which came out in 2000. They probably gave it to me. We would give it. They send the promos, and then they were cleaning out stuff in the library, and you could take stuff. We wouldn't take like a ton of them. You could take like 10 CDs if you want, because you'd be the one to play it on your show and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, it was I don't know, it's kind of in the Liquid Tension, but not quite as technical. But it's Tony Levin, and it's doing prog of some kind, of very fusiony stuff. So anyway, instrumental music. Um, all right. So then I have, speaking of like, extreme metal, I have I believe you'd be considered technical death metal. It's crazy, and their name kind of fits the bill. This is their debut album. They're called Brain Drill, and the album's called Apocalyptic Feasting. I remember, and it was because there's a few people on the message boards that love this interesting artwork. Yeah, you'd had Necrophagus, you had some of these other like just unbelievably just Meshuggah, of course, too, just crazy and ridiculously technical bands, and this band was trying to like up them. I mean, you had a lot of bands that did that, but I did not follow them after this, but it for what it is, it's got its charm, and I remember it also wasn't that long. I mean, it kind of fits a lot of the cliches of technical death metal and death metal. I mean, just look at the artwork and then the name of it. But that's what you're gonna get. It's not that they were hardly the first ones to do the kind of imagery and style, but the difference was they were emphasizing technique and just this is a brain drill. We're just your brain's gonna go nuts trying to listen to this stuff and how fast it is, how crazy, how heavy it is, how pounding it is. But yeah, I mean they stood out in that sense. It's like they were just trying to melt your face, and it worked to some degree. It was very mood music. But anyway, Apocalypse Feasting from 2007 off Metal Blade Records, from Brain Drill. And then the last one in this rack is for this part of the B, the second part of the B's, is Brazil's. I think this is their second album. I could be wrong. Maybe it's their first. It's Hostage and the Meaning of Life. And this band was a short lived band in the early to mid 2000s. This, to me, there's a clear like influence from a few bands, but the one band that I always cite is the Mars Volta. You could say Coheed and Cambria. I mean, they were kind of contemporaries of them. This came out in 2004. The song Metropole, that one I love. They use a saxophone on that piece. The Iconoclast and Tropa, and I mean, if you like the Mars Volta, that style from the early to mid 2000s, or Coheed and Cambria, or there's a few other examples. I don't like. I want to say not Circus Survive, but I mean Circus Survive. I kind of compared them to Circus Survive. The singer's a little more digestible, and I think they're from. They were from like their name is Brazil, of course, but they were from like Missouri or somewhere in the middle of the country, Kansas maybe, Kansas City. Um, but anyway, yeah, this is I mean in the modern progressive art rock history story that someday I can make mention that this album specifically and this band definitely has a little bit of a role. They'd be in there. So yeah, that's the thing I wanted. I've given been kind of feeling everything with the election and all this stuff that's been happening. We don't even know the future of everything in the next X number of years. And hopefully, we hope things just don't change that much, but or say change for the better. But I'm thinking of maybe trying to start doing the Empire series that I'm meaning to do, the history of Empire. Um, now, and so maybe I was going to try finishing this, but this is going to take months probably to finish, so I may just kind of do both of them. Maybe after I get done with the bees, I'll start doing that, and then kind of go back and forth. I'll be kind of so this will ultimately take me until like next year at this time before I finish both. I don't know. I mean, I started the albums of the year about a year ago now, and I'm still not done with it. But I don't know. These are easy to do. The Empire history is not going to be as easy to do because it's a lot of corralling and finding the order of stuff, but and some maybe images and stuff. But I at least have the calendars, I believe, so I've done a lot of the legwork for that. So, but anyway, that's it for the second part of the bees. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.